The Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, testified before the Committee on Financial Services today. And I got to say, this man ran circles around the Democrats and made them look so stupid. It really showed the American people just how unserious these folks are. When you see these video clips of what went on in this hearing, you realize just how defeated and deflated these left-wing extremists are. They have nothing to talk about. They have nothing to stand on. Scott Bessent knows his stuff so well, they can't even push back on him. And when they try, he makes them look stupid just calmly and so reserved. Because, you know, Scott Bessent, he doesn't raise his voice or anything. He's a very well-reserved individual. So we're going to get into these clips. We're going to kick it off with Grandma Maxine. Watch how he puts the egg all over Maxine's face. I love it.
Do you know the level, type, or nature of the clearances and security training required for individuals to access the information held in the computers of Treasury, IRS, or CFPB?
Yes, I do, and I think we would have a disagreement over the definition of the word unfettered.
Mr. Secretary, did all the individuals working with Doge who were given access to Treasury's and CFPB's computer databases receive all of the required clearances and security training before they were granted access?
Again, they were granted read-only access at Treasury. There were two.
So let me just say,
Doge employees.
Please, you can't filibuster here. This is not the filibuster playground. And so what you did was you let these strangers into our Treasury with access to all of the data, all of the personnel information, and you just opened the door. Why'd you do that?
No, ma'am. They were Treasury employees.
Oh, are you saying today in front of this committee that all of them were Treasury employees, that the 25-year-old who's being identified, who worked for Elon Musk, was allowed into the Treasury? Was that person there?
He was a Treasury employee, as was Tom Krause, the senior person on the Doge team. There were only two people.
There were Doge employees also.
Sorry?
Do you know, were you aware that there were Doge employees coming into our Treasury getting all of our personal information?
Well, ma'am, there is no such thing as a Doge employee. There were Treasury employees.
I tend to disagree with you based on the information I had.
He made it look stupid. There is no Doge employees, and they are employees of the Treasury. So her grandstand is saying, oh, you have people that weren't employees of the Treasury in there. No. They were employees of the Treasury. See, President Trump and his team were playing 5D chess. They knew that these left-wing extremists will bring up stuff like that, so they hired them all. Now, this clip here is priceless. This is with Representative Velazquez, and she just thinks she's about to try to take it to Scott Bessent, and he makes her look so ridiculous and so ignorant, makes you wonder how she became a congresswoman. It says, Rep. Velazquez asked which countries the U.S. is close to striking deals with. Scott Bessent, it would be detrimental to the interests of the United States to answer that question, as the negotiations may still be in process as we speak. But let's listen to this exchange.
I would like for the witness to be swearing in before I ask my questions.
The chair doesn't see a need for that. You may ask your question. Your time can start the gentlewoman's time over 5 minutes.
The man, he be sworn in like it's some type of hearing or something.
Secretary Bessent, you were on CNBC earlier this week making claims saying we are very close and maybe we will see some deals this week on tariffs. So tell us, tell the American people, tell small businesses and consumers, tell retirees, specifically, which countries are you close to striking deals with?
Now, just think about what she just did. First off, she wanted to start off with asking him to be sworn in again. Okay, he already initially swore before he even sat down in the chair, before the hearing even starts. Now she wanted to do it again. And then you can see her face. She's gearing up for the cameras. That TDS is kicking in and she wants her moment to shine. And so she asked the Secretary of the Treasury, she named off about 20 different groups. She said then to specifically address. How's he going to specifically address 20 different groups that have 20 different needs? This just setting the stage for how these left-wing extremists go. And it goes downhill from here.
I'm sorry, Congresswoman, but that would not benefit the United States.
No. I'm asking you a question based on the statement that you made on CNBC.
And I am telling you that it would be detrimental to the interest of the United States for me to answer that question.
Why would that be detrimental?
It's negotiation.
Because as the negotiations may still be in process as we speak, as we are not at the end of the week yet, I am sure that you through your question, would not want to compromise U.S. negotiations.
Reclaiming my time,
Would you?
Secretary Bessent, the president goes into a press conference and claims that there are negotiations going on. And then the next day, there's no negotiations going on. So why would you not answer my question? And that will be considered detrimental to the American people, to the American economy.
And if you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that like button. I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat. You hitting that like button, it is currency. It helps spread the video around. And if you are subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And once you do, make sure you hit the notification bell and select all. That way you'll be notified when I upload new videos. What's crazy is how they will demand all of this transparency. They need to know right now. But under Joe Biden, they never, ever spoke to his staff, needed any accountability. They didn't need anything. And in these first 100 days, they just got to have it. They just got to know. And they're so concerned.
I do not understand. Despite your claim,
I'm happy to say there are negotiations going on. I'm not going to reveal the details.
So how long do you think those negotiations will take before they are concluded? And
There are numerous countries, as I have said, if you saw my CNBC interview, which you referenced, there are 18 important trading partners, and we are moving forward at all deliberate speed with those.
do you consider these negotiations advanced negotiations?
Some of them are quite advanced.
So you expect this deal to be more than memorandums of understanding? You expect them to be full negotiated trade deals?
I believe that they will be the agreements in principle, and then we will paper them over in the coming months. But once we reach an agreement, then I am sure that the other countries will live up to it.
Okay. In congressional testimony yesterday,
Listen to what she's asking. Do you believe that when a deal is done, that it's going to be a this and a that? She's just trying so hard, reaching for a moment and making herself look silly.
you said the U.S. has not started negotiating with China on tariff reductions. Does that continue to be your position, yes or no?
As you may have read.
Yes or no, sir?
As you may have read in the press, I will be going to Switzerland, and the negotiations will begin on Saturday.
Okay, so the president told you that that will be your answer today.
No need to even respond to that.
So can you tell who from the Trump administration is engaged in those discussions
Which discussions?
with China?
Trade discussions?
Pardon?
I'm sorry.
Trade discussions, yes, sir.
Well, the trade negotiations will be led by myself and Ambassador Jameson Greer,
And,
USTR.
and what about Pete Navarro?
Sorry?
Peter Navarro,
He will
is
not,
he?
he will not be joining us in Geneva.
Thank God for that. Are those negotiations considered advanced?
Pardon?
Are those negotiations considered advanced?
As I said, on Saturday, we will begin. I believe it's the opposite of advance.
Secretary Bessent, as Treasury Secretary and a senior member of President Trump's economic team, has President Trump given you the authority to finalize any trade agreement with China or any other trading partner?
As President Trump has stated, he will have the final decision on any trade agreement.
So you're telling me all of these increased prices, the stock market losses, the production delays are all based on the wins of Donald Trump, that you could strike the best deal with Canada, Mexico, or even China, that is completely in our favor, giving us everything the administration
Gentlewoman's
is
time has
seeking.
expired.
And if President Trump decides at any certain moment,
Gentlewoman's time
for
is
whatever reason, not to take the deal, that will be it. I yield.
That was insane. Now, this last clip, that was long, I know, but that's just how insane these folks are. But check this one out. This is the last one. This will really make you scratch your head and say, why? What's the purpose? Why do these people wake up and even come do this? And kudos to the Trump administration to come sitting down and do this. Nobody from the Biden administration ever did it. You saw what they tried to do for Hunter, and that was Congressional bringing him in on real criminal stuff, let alone one of the administration having to sit down and really be taking the task over something like lying about his competency, like opening the border, like taking inflation to record-breaking highs, like trying to, by like spying on American citizens, things like that. But check out this joke as he tries to pull a gotcha, and Scott just calmly eats him up with no problem.
Today. So can you tell me first, does trade deficits constitute a national emergency?
The hollowing out of the U.S.
No, just yes or no.
class.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
It's a national emergency, sir.
It does. It does. You're telling me trade deficits equals a national or creates
Persistent and prolonged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you know also, sir, that for the last 4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America?
That's the problem. That's the problem. Now, listen to what he just said. For the last 4 decades, and really go back in your mind and think about who dominated the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress, the House. Think about who dominated that. It's just like out of the last 16 years. 12 of those years were Democratic leadership. 4 were President Trump. 3.5 of those years, we had the greatest economy in the history of the United States. Then we had one of the biggest pandemics in the history of the United States, or if not the world. Now, here we are again. President Trump 3.0, won't even say 2.0, hit the ground running. But what he just said, for 40 years, we've had a deficit, and he's okay with that. Matter of fact, it's the norm. Why change it? He's speaking. He's letting it out. Freudian slip or whatever you want to call it. This is how the Democrats really feel. Why change the status quo? They have their slush funds. They control their lamestream media. They run things. They wait out for whenever a Republican breaks through the cracks. But other than that, they gobble up another 8 to 12 years. But they just hit the gas under Joe Biden because they saw what Trump did. Trump opened up a lot of eyes and woke up a lot of minds in that first term. He brought people back to politics that was turned off from it. Now, in 2025, it's leveled up to a whole nother place where the Democrats won't be able to get back to doing what it is they did. That's why taking a wrecking ball to it, like Trump is doing, is the best thing he could do.
And nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress.
And how's that worked out for us? We got a $37 trillion deficit. And like this man just said, it's been like that for 40 years with letting the Congress do it. It's been like that for 40 years. So why don't we keep doing what hasn't worked for 40 years? Let us keep doing it. That's what he's saying. And I don't know if these left-wing extremists realize that. You're speaking out loud, brother. We hear you.
It's just unbelievable to me. Let me ask this question.
I agree.
Maybe I missed it. Who was the president and who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? You one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
I am not.
You're not? You said one believes?
In other words, he's speaking about his competency. I just wanted to show you the lunacy of what's going on with these left-wing extremists in this hearing with Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury. You notice they're not bringing up any type of fiscal issues. They're not presenting any type of alternative plans. They're bringing up Trump, asking him to, hey, lay out all of your plans of what you got going on. Speak here on the global stage. Tell us right now. Or, yeah, hey, listen, what's wrong with you, brother? We've had a trade deficit for 40 years. Nobody else has thought it was an emergency. So who are you to think that? Bring it back to us and let us take it up. Let us double that to make us $74 trillion in debt. We can double that. That's what they're saying. It is crazy. And Scott Bessent did a great job, a masterclass on psychopath Maxine Waters and Representative Velazquez, who was just looking for her gotcha moment and got. And then that nut job asking, hey, the deficit been like that for 40 years. Who are you to change it? It's crazy. But hey, listen, if you stayed in here and you watched it, I really do appreciate you hanging out with me. If you haven't, remember to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe. Make sure you turn on those notifications. Leave a comment. Tell me exactly how you feel, what you thought about the content. And most importantly, you be safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.